Good evening, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Monday, October 13, 2014, around 7:57 on a Monday night in Billerica, Massachusetts. The sun's down, it's pitch black out, and tonight's lows are going to be in the 40s. Tomorrow we're going to shoot up to the 70s and be in a little humid. We'll get more humidity on Wednesday. And it's an Indian summer coming in this area, which we like. We like to have some Indian summer, but sooner or later the cold weather's going to come and we're going to be snowed in a few more months. We don't want to talk about that right now. Some news to report. The Game 3 of the American League Championship Series at Kauffman Stadium between Baltimore Orioles versus the Kansas City Royals has been rained out. It's going to be pushed back to tomorrow. Game 3 will be tomorrow at 8:07 p.m. And also, that's about it on news. And my third and final video blog subject of the night is my personality profile. My personality profile is about one of the most legendary pro football announcers of all time, the late great Pat Summerall. Pat Summerall was a broadcaster for over 40 years. He's mainly known for doing work for NFL, but he's done many other sports as well during his long and illustrious career. Pat Summerall's real name was George Allen Summerall, and he was born and he grew up in Lake City, Florida. And when he was in high school, he played 4 sports: basketball, baseball, tennis, and football. He was a pretty good football player. He went to college at the University of Arkansas, and he played so many positions like defensive end, tight end, and kicker. And he had a 10-year NFL career. Pat did in the NFL with the Detroit Lions, the Chicago Cardinals, and the New York Giants. His career stats was 212 field goals made, and he had like 25 point after touchdown kicks. And he got the nickname Pat because of a point after he kicked the point after touchdown thing. That's how he got his nickname Pat. And after his career was over, Pat started his broadcasting career in New York City on a radio station hosting a sports show. In 1962, he was hired by CBS Sports to call NFL games. He was the color man for the first 3 years with Chris Schenkel doing New York Giants football games. And then in 1965, Pat Summerall moved to Washington Redskins to call games with Jim Gibbons. And then in 1968, CBS eliminated all of those announcers calling one game, and they called one team. So they had a system where they had all their announcers, and they would call different games each week. And Pat was a color man first with Jack Buck, and then Ray Scott. And then in the middle of 1974, Pat Summerall moved from color to play-by-play, and his play-by-play partner in the middle of 1974 was longtime NFL player turned broadcaster Tom Brookshire. Pat and Tom worked before on the syndicated show This Week in Pro Football for many years. And for the next 7 years, Pat Summerall and Tom Brookshire were the number one NFL play-by-play team for CBS Sports. They called 3 Super Bowls together and every NFC Championship game. In 1981, Pat got a new color man. It was John Madden, and they were together for 21 years on CBS and Fox. They called all of the NFC Championship games and several Super Bowls. And also, Pat did other sports for CBS. He did like the U.S. Open tennis tournament for over 20 years. He also was the golf host for CBS. He was on the 18th hole of calling the Masters and the PGA Championship for a few years. He also called basketball. He called the old ABA games for CBS, the NIT. He was the lead announcer for the NBA in the 1973-74 season. He did the NBA Finals, in 1974, which was between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. He also interviewed Bobby Orr when he scored that game-winning goal in the post-game show for CBS when they had the NHL in 1970. And he also called boxing matches, Pat Summerall, and he also did some NCAA tournament games back in the 80s for CBS. And he, later on in his career, Pat Summerall did some voiceover work for Golden Tee Golf and Sports Stars of Tomorrow. And also, back in the 70s and 80s, Pat Summerall was the spokesman for True Value Hardware. And coincidentally, his broadcast partner for so many years, John Madden, was the spokesperson for Ace Hardware, which True Value and Ace Hardware are rivals. And for many years, Pat Summerall battled alcohol addiction. He would spend time in the Betty Ford clinic, but he got cleaned up. And he encouraged longtime friend Mickey Mantle, who was an alcoholic himself, to go to the Betty Ford clinic. And during the later years, Pat Summerall's health was fading. He had to get a liver transplant, and he also suffered from hip problems and stuff. He basically, after 2002, stopped announcing full time. He would occasionally appear once in a while doing a random game here and there for NFL football on Fox, and he was the voice of the Cotton Bowl, when Fox owned the rights for a few years. And he also did some voiceover work for the Masters on CBS every year and stuff like that. And Pat Summerall passed away in 2013 at the age of 82. He was a broadcasting icon. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, winning the Pete Rozelle Award for Broadcasting Excellence. People call Pat Summerall the best play-by-play announcer of NFL football in history, and a lot of people agree with that. He was the greatest announcer of all time for NFL games, and he was great doing color back in the 60s and early 70s. And he probably ranks up there as maybe the top 10 broadcasters of all time, doing a variety of sports as well. And he's great, Pat Summerall, and that's about it on that. I hope you enjoyed these video blogs, Facebook friends, and YouTube followers. I love doing them, and I'll be continuing on doing them tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And years, and weeks, and decades, and millenniums, and centuries, infinity. We'll be doing this until the world ends. Well, tomorrow's subjects will be the top 10 greatest designated hitters of all time, and also our second one will be about memories of video stores. Video stores are all gone. I'm going to tell you some memories I have about video stores. And the third and final video blog of the night is about the group, the Four Horsemen, the wrestling group of Four Horsemen. I'll tell you the history about the wrestling group, the Four Horsemen. And don't forget, in the weeks ahead, there'll be definitely video blogs about Julie Broughton, Local News 6, the traffic reporter during the weekday mornings, and she used to be the weekend meteorologist. She's definitely going to get her own video blog. Julie is a beautiful blonde with a great spine and nice legs, and also we're going to have one up with Heidi Lee Pratt, Crystal Pistol, Janelle Tobin, Tony Ramos, Bruce Cronin, Dee Patel, Tano Beauregard, and Angelo, and more. And don't forget, coming October 25th is my 2014-2015 NBA previews, and sometime in November will be a question and answers video blog. So don't forget, Facebook friends and YouTube followers, send me in your questions and they'll be definitely answered. See you tomorrow, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Good night, everybody.